Okay, so first I'll just start out, showing you the report itself. And before I started, did you have any questions about it, or do you know about how the report kind of works?
I do not. I don't.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So basically, I used Google Sheets because it is really versatile. It's really customizable, and you can share it with other people. You can access it from any device, anywhere, as long as you have internet. So there's a lot of benefits to it. And so basically, that's why I chose that one. And basically, when you start your report, you make sure that you do file and make a copy of it, because the original is your master copy. And so you just kind of rename it. And it shows up in another tab here. So it's basically the same as the original. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to let me know. Okay, so it's all loaded. It takes a little bit of time when you're like casting a screen or presenting your screen. But so the first thing to know is that on the top left button, this basically is the one that's like the master one, where whatever button you press, once you highlight it and click on it, then it makes the changes to the whole document. So for example, if you want to remove all of the highlights, you can do that, and just with one button. And you can change the font, you can change the size and everything like that. So that's an important one. And I put notes on them, so that way you can have instructions about what to put in the cell. But of course, you can delete those. And make sure that when you're going to print it, that you do edit and clear the notes, because then it shows a little indicator when you print. So that's important to do too. But it's just a way to help guide you through the process. So let's see. Okay. So on this section, you just double click and you can change what type of report you're wanting to do. So it could just do triennial. And you can change and customize what the ones that you want in there by just doing a right click and going to, let's see. Okay, so it normally works like, there we go. Then you go to data validation and left click on that. And then in here, you can just put whatever name you want, separating by a comma. You can delete all of them if you don't want it all, uppercase, things like that. So that's what's good about it, is like it's very customizable about how you want to put things in. And this cell is really important. That's where you put in the first name of the student. And so it basically fills in everywhere throughout the whole document. And that's why it's important. And then we have the last name as well. And this one doesn't fill in because it's not really common that we put someone's last name in the report like that. So if you have any issues with size, then you can unmerge it and cut that here and paste, and then merge here if you want, if you have a longer first name. And let's say if you made a mistake, the cool thing about Google Sheets is that on the left, there's this left undo button. And so you can just click it until everything's back to how it was before. So, and then if you made a mistake that way, you can press the forward button to go back to it. So you never have to worry if you made a huge mistake and everything's, not how it should be. So these are just drop-down menus for different grades. And I'll show you kind of how that works in different aspects of the document. You put in the birthday and the chronological age automatically comes out, and student ID, things like that. The date of the report I have basically, so it reflects whatever current date there is. So you don't need to have it like that, but I just have it that way. So that way you don't have to type in that thing. So you just print it and it's there for you. And this part is really important too. It's a preferred pronouns section. So you can choose from that and determine where it's going to be. That's going to fill in throughout the report. And this is the, if you want, you can add in the date you got the assessment plan. And so then it automatically will give you that 60-day due date and how many days you have left. And you wouldn't
Does
want to.
that print out on the report, or that goes away when you print the report?
That's a good question. So on the left, there's this minus button, and obviously, like, I wouldn't want that on the report. So you just click that, and then it hides it. So
Okay.
there's two ways to hide things on the report, or I guess delete it. And this is one of them. And then another way is where you left click. Oops. Sorry. And you highlight the rows, and then you right click. Sorry, it's like giving me some problems. Anyways, you right click and do hide. I'll show that to you later. Okay, so that's how that one works. And then you have the reason for referral. So you would put who was referring the student, and if you don't see one that qualifies, then you can just type it in yourself. You know, I don't know, just something like that. And then you can also click in the areas of concern that you're wanting to look at. And if one of them does not qualify, then you can type in a custom area. And next, you would do the evaluation areas. So things like that. And then it kind of puts the information in a narrative form. And you go back up, and right here, you click and hide it. And right here is the procedure. So before you, instead of double clicking, you can just type in the first letters of the test you're looking at, and it automatically has that pop up. So that's a little bit of a time saver for sure. And then once you click it in, the date here automatically pops up. But again, you don't have to have it like that, but it's just another little shortcut. Let's see if I can do the hiding thing again. There we go. Okay, so you would just hide the rows if you're not using them. And then if you want to undo that, then there's these little arrows here, and you can click it open. So it's kind of a different orientation than Word for sure, but there's a lot of benefits to it. So here's the health and developmental information. So if there's complications during pregnancy, and then you can type in if you want to like describe what happened, but you don't have to fill in all of these. It's all up to you. So it's a really big baby, and things like that. And then these are some of the milestones that you can put in too. And here you would be able to put in a diagnosis history, and you don't have to put in all of this if you don't have that information, but it's good to have. And you can discuss what kind of medication they're on. This is probably a lot. So then surgeries, ear infection, age 2, and then kind of describe what happened. Vision and hearing screenings, so you can type in these different options and the date. So for the date one, you would have to put in more manually. It's not a double click type thing because sometimes with the formulas it doesn't work well. So that will be indicated, and then you go up again and kind of follow the same pattern. Things like that. And this is the school enrollment history. So I put that this student was in 6th grade, and so this automatically goes 6th down to kindergarten. And then the school is also in the menu above, and that just kind of flows in there automatically because that's the current grade. And then you can just type in what other schools they've been to. And we also have classroom performance history. So the 6th grade automatically comes up, and 5th grade does too, and 4th grade. So just some time savers there. Here's a standardized test performance history. Things like that are there if you want them. And then I have attendance history. So this automatically gives you a percentage of their attendance. So if they missed 2 days, then they had 99% of 185. And then also the same thing, the grades are there as well automatically. And you don't have to use all of them. It's totally up to you.
If we were testing a high school, how do you add in grades in there?
Oh, if you were testing a high schooler and you indicated that they were in 11th grade, for example, on the first page, the first top page, it would basically reflect that. So it would be 11th grade up above, and then 11th grade here at the grade.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. And this is the special education history section. So I made it really like regimented, I guess, or structured, I guess you could say. And so for the initial report, you can and you put in different eligibility, which of course you can, if it doesn't match yours, then you can change that on the data verification one. This is the test result summary. So that's basically writing in your own narrative. So you'd use full sentences and describe all the tests that had been administered and the placement that they were in and all these services that they had. And with the services, you can start typing just like before. So I put like counseling, speech. So that's just kind of more shortcuts of how to do it. And then you can put for how many minutes, 30 minutes per day, and other services if there's more that beyond the 5 here. And then changes to the IEP could be, for example, an amendment IEP or things like that. And so you just type in that like a paragraph. And so I think I have like five past history reports in here. So it should be sufficient, but if not, you can always type below. And then you kind of follow the same pattern where things like that. So the next one that I automated, these are just like fill in as long as you want, just like a normal document, is drug and alcohol history. And then you can, that would be really early, but just an example. And so That's filled in too. Then juvenile court involvement kind of works the same way. And then DCFS or Child Protective Services involvement, you can change that if it reflects where you live. Then the next one is an automated student interview questions. So it gives you an indication of how that response should look. So that way, when it goes in the narrative, it's correct. So who do you live with in the home? You know, mom and dad, I guess, and different hobbies, subject or things that they like about school, least favorite, hardest thing about school. So all of those things below, you can basically, as you're interviewing the student and typing in these answers, then it writes it for you. So then you click here and all of that's written out like that. So the parent interview works just the same way. There's a lot of different questions that you could decide to ask or not. And once you're done asking the questions, you would just type here. So
if there were questions that you didn't want to ask, do you not ask them, or do you have to delete them from this form?
You just don't ask them. Yeah. So it's all up to you what you choose to ask. By the way, when I first started doing this document, like you saw me on that top left button, I unhighlighted everything. On the actual document, it's highlighted, so it kind of gives you a lot better indication of where you're inputting information. So it just kind of helps your eye there. But anyways,
Okay.
just for the record. So then you follow the same pattern here. For the teacher input, you put their name up here, and then if you click on here, you can have access to a Google form that you can send out to a teacher, and it has the same questions here. I'm working toward adding this description part for, let's say if you're actually in person with a teacher and you're asking questions about attendance and there's more to it than just it's excellent, you can get a lot more wealth of information. So I'm almost done with that one, but once you're complete with that part, then it just discusses who was it interviewed, and then it does it with bullet points basically, and then describes their responses here and recommendations. So the teacher one, I'm excited to make it a lot better, and for now it's definitely workable, but I'm definitely looking forward to improving on that in the very near future. This is my newest addition, which is automating observations, which is basically as you're observing the student, it will write itself. And so you can just type in manually the date or the time, and you can choose whatever section you want to input. So I put it was for 20 minutes. And right here, this is another positive, is that you can type in any custom common subjects that you encounter. So it doesn't have to be the ones listed here. So instead of drama, it could be ceramics. So clicking the button here basically tells the computer to put whatever's here into the narrative. And if none of those apply and you don't want to replace these, then you can type in a custom subject there. You can describe how many students were in the classroom, where they were seated, and in each group or table or center, you can describe how many were there. And with this section, you can look at the ones on the left, and these are some descriptions of how the student might be behaving. So for example, with begins tasks promptly, I put took an average time to respond to tasks. So there's just different ways of describing it there. And if you want, you can type in a custom thing, but you would need to make sure it lined up with the narrative part. So there's a lot of different things that you can kind of look at when you're doing the behavior observation. And then this is a free form, if the student's working in a small group or a large group, you can describe more in depth here what it looks like. And then to add more to it, you can type in here and then go up and hide it. So this is what comes out when you're done, and it's just a little bit easier than a typical observation. And then I added 2 of them just in case there's multiple ones, but you can copy paste to add additional observations. Next, I'm going to be working on kind of doing the same thing when it comes to unstructured observation, like a playground or class or a recess. So this is what I have so far. Oops. Playground. And just kind of to get you started, and then you would type in the observation there. But I'm looking forward to making that one better too. This is just you don't need to have it, but it's a standard bell curve that kind of indicates the different scores that there could be there. And then descriptors here. So this is a automated graph that basically aligns with a cognitive test that you administer, and it only works basically if you're giving only one cognitive test. But it's kind of nice that it's automatic. And so, for example, this is the Woodcock-Johnson, and I put in all these scores, and so the graph above is automatically knows that it's the Woodcock-Johnson, and it puts in the name of it here, whatever test you're giving. So so if we're not interested in that, we could do the KABC. So just examples of what might be there. And by the way, with the KABC, it has the percentile automatically, and then in the narrative below, it also describes above average or whatever description there is for each score. So now it automatically changed to KABC scores as well. So it's just a little convenient thing, but it's not necessary that you keep it. You can delete it if that's not something that you like. I added and linked different processing tests to these graphs. So you just delete the ones you don't need, and if you don't want those graphs, then that's fine too. But that's kind of nice. So here's I guess I'll do the TAPS for an example of how that one works. Okay, and so then automatically the narrative is written, and the descriptors of even these scores are there as well. So also the scores that I input here are also automatically, there's a short summary of them in the actual summary section. So that's automatic as well. I just inputted this one, MVP T. So there's over 36 tests that I have so far. And if you ever are interested in having this report for yourself, like you just send me your report, your template, your shell, and the descriptors of the scores, and then I can input the new test to the report. So I'm able to do that really fast as well. This is the eligibility section, and that automatically pops up. And then the secondary one, if there isn't a secondary, then you can just do the hiding technique. And so it has a little summary here, which describes John, who's the student here. And then it has the scores from the KABC, and it also has the TAPS here described too. So, oh, and then also this one. So then there's this summary here where it talks about, it kind of just summarizes the eligibility that the student meets. And next there's the accommodations menu. So you can click on whatever accommodation you feel is relevant. And this one is another area where I'm gonna be excited to improve on, like just making it more customizable, so you can put in your own common ones that you use for accommodations or modifications, and trying to align those accommodations with any eligibility, any disability. I mean, so there's a lot of positives of getting it. So this is the modification menu. And then once you're done with that, then you click it. And then do the hide maneuver. And where'd you go? Okay. And so then it's listed out here with bullet points. And then for modifications, that's listed too with bullet points. And then this date too is automated too. So that's basically the report. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I don't think so. I think you answered most of my questions. It's very nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Very nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I am so really passionate about it. And I really enjoy making it like as streamlined as possible. And, you know, I'm always looking for any kind of ways to make our job easier.
Yes,
So,
that's the key.
for sure. So, yeah, the other thing that sometimes people have a question about is, well, first, let me go back to clearing notes, because I don't want that indicated in my printing. So you can file and download it as a PDF, or you can, because if you're going to be attaching it to something like an email or something, and then you can print here. And there's different options. You can print it with footer of the page numbers and other different headers and footers like that. So when it does come time to printing it, it definitely looks like a normal Word document. So as you can see, I wouldn't print that, but yeah. So I do really enjoy this Google Sheets format, just because of formatting. Like you can always kind of trust that it's going to be aligned the right way, things like that. So, and it doesn't look like an Excel sheet once you print it, and also hiding my little sub menu things there too. So All right, let me stop the recording. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see here.